بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. As we witness with our very eyes the fitan, the trials and the tribulations, the people of Iman, whether it's spiritually, physically, mentally, psychologically, are prepared in all conditions, prepared for the apparent outward and prepared for death, akhirat as well. So when these fitan come, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anh has mentioned something saying, Kun fil fitna ka ibnil laboon. When you see these trials and these tribulations, then be like the offspring of a milk-giving animal. La dhahr fayarkab, that there is no back where you can mount the animal because it's small. Wala dar' fayahlub, and there is no others where it can be milked. Means whichever way an animal can be used in the time of fitna, make sure you stay clear, make sure you're out of the firing line and you prepared accordingly. So find your space, get your moment, get your opportunity where you see it. So when a doctor advises a patient, he tells the patient what medication to take and likewise what to abstain from. So part of our solution is abstention. A believer knows the value of every minute, every second. He knows how to increase productivity. He stays far away from those actions which will make him lose his potential and his productivity, and he is very cautious that his most valuable asset, which is Iman, his mental balance, his psyche, his physical movement is optimum. When a person is caught in a trap, they cannot move freely. They cannot do what they want. So we have to see what plans, what plotting are the people of Batil, Shaitan, Dajjal, what is part of their scheme and plan that will hinder our progress significantly. So every type of fitna that is out there is bait from Shaitan, and it is there to trap us. And a believer is wise enough not to fall in this trap. So the trap of technology, the trap of social media, the trap of the internet, these are major highways of Shaitan and Iblis. It is a major highway for Dajjal. It is a major platform. So we have to be very cautious. Use it, don't abuse it. What the ultimate objective, what our needs are, fulfill our needs, but don't go beyond that. So somebody wanted to give up social media, so they made a New Year resolution, and they said they're no more going to be on social media, etc. So they wanted to make friends outside Facebook and try to apply the same principles. So the person said, every day I walk down the street, I tell the passers-by what I've eaten, how I feel, what I did the night before, what I will do tomorrow. He gave them pictures of his family, his friends, his dog, his gardening. And he also listened to their conversations and told them how much he liked their conversation, how much he liked them. So, and it worked well. He said, I've already had 3 people following me, 2 police officers and a psychiatrist. If we apply the same principle of social media, then you'll have policemen and psychiatrists following you. You'll become a case study. So nomophobia, which is the phobia of smartphone addiction. So this is where there is an abuse, where there is an addiction disorder, and a person has this compulsion, whether it's on the apps, whether it's the games, whether it's on the online worlds, virtual relationships. So that has become a common thing nowadays, the networks, and that's where 5G wants to take us, 6G and higher processors, etc., higher screen resolutions. Previously it could not handle that capacity, but now a person in this social networking world, in this dating apps, in this messaging, and these online friends have become more important than real life relationships. So people don't know how to have relationships in real time. And you will have a couple in a family, a family jar, a gathering, where everybody's on a table, but nobody's on the same table. They're on another platform, busy with their cell phones. So this has destroyed the nature and the mizaj of relationships between husband and wife, parents and children, etc. Then virtual worlds where you build your own Jannah, you buy an island, you build your palace, you start inviting people from all over the world, and you've got a platform. So people buy clothing, they buy their cars. Now the future would be to take people out of this real world and put them into a virtual world and create your own Jannah. But that's what Dajjal will do. He'll show you Jannah. When you go onto that platform, you're actually going into Jahannam, hellfire. So a lot of effort is being made in that, and we will see in the next La ilaha illallah, Allah knows best, few years, proliferation of technology and gadgets that will want to make people virtual. So they will be in their homes, they will be in this world of virtual reality, but not in reality in real time, but in the alam which Dajjal has created. So that's going to go widespread, and people now won't have the mizaj and mindset to go out in the path of Allah, to go out to the masjid, to do the amal of deen. So that will snatch away the nur of ibadah. And then with the different forms of entertainment that's out there, whether it's the Netflixes, whether it's the YouTubes of the world, information overload. So this compulsive web surfing, watching videos, playing games, checking the news, it snatches our productivity, and a person doesn't have a real hobby, as discussed, where we are doing archery, where we are doing horse riding, where we are doing physical activities. That gets taken away completely. So people no more are physical, but they are virtual. So we have to learn to unplug from the circuit, because it is a circuit that will shock us at the time of death, a system that will give us a shock of our life. And this is the network, the wiring of Dajjal. Then cyber sex addiction, where people are compulsively engaged on the internet with pornography, adult messaging services, swapping, etc. So this addiction as well is a drug. It enslaves a person. A person wants to fulfill their own desires. Person loses focus, they fatigue levels, because they engage on it all the time. The mind, psychologically, a person becomes disturbed, disorientated. A person becomes isolated, and he starts living in a world of illusion. And it's a consumer of time. It's a consumer of barakah in time, in our work, in our responsibilities, in everything. And then a person, now to get away, has to become secretive, and it starts destroying his marriage, his relationship, his connections, and it creates a burning fire inside. And a person starts seeing this, and they move on to barbarism, where they start doing acts which humanly a person will not do, because the light of Iman has been snatched, modesty has been snatched, and eventually it opens the door of zina. So such a severe crime which draws azab and calamities, a person should be publicly pelted, an adulterer. So we have to be very, very vigilant ourselves with regards to our family, with regards to our spouses, etc. And it has become quite common nowadays that children under the age of 11 have become addicts. They say over 40 million Americans are regular visitors to porn sites. around every 6 minutes and 30 seconds people are engaged, and there are around 42 million porn websites, around 370 million pages of porn, and at least half of Americans say that it has caused a problem, and it increases the rate of infidelity by 300%, generating around $13 billion per annum. If we look at just the amount of people watching pornography every second, around 28,000 every second, $3 million are being spent, and 1 in 5 mobile searches are for pornography. It's connected to that, so it becomes an addiction. Just one wrong page, one wrong swipe, one wrong everything, and a person's gone, their whole life down the drain. So one swipe can swipe your life. 90% of teens and 96% of young adults either engage in it, accepting it, encouraging it, circulating it. Even if you look at the data with regards to the churches, 1 in 5 pastors or 1 in 7 are addicted to it. So it hasn't left anybody. Shaitan, the web of Dajjal has engulfed humanity, and very few have been saved from it. So that's a topic on its own. But when a person's caught, he's stuck into the structure, then where will his mind go to? What planning will he do? What preparation will he do? So it destroys a person completely. Then other online diseases like gaming, gambling, online shopping. So people go and they have a habit of shopping, etc. So these are diseases on their own. And what makes this whole system so lush and plush, that a person, when he logs in, when he goes onto his cell phone, then he gets this dopamine release, because he's getting pleasure, he's getting enjoyment, and it wears off, and he wants more of it, and he wants more of it. So a person now starts desiring it more. So if you look at his phone, every 10 minutes it goes to 5 minutes, and then literally every minute he becomes addicted to it. So it's more like substance abuse. It's a disorder which modifies people's moods, their mindset, your emotional state. It modifies a person's behavior, the emotional state. It decreases your tolerance level, because now your person wants instant gratification. They start having withdrawal symptoms. It starts causing conflict in everything of their life, and they go into relapses when a person does realize, I need to get out of it. So worse than even gambling, where a person has to go to a place, they need to find an ideal environment, they need to find an ideal situation, etc. Or whether it's drugs, whether it's cocaine, etc. These are limited to certain avenues, and it is restricted. But when you go into these platforms, it's unlimited, so the brain becomes addicted, and it's hard and difficult, even more difficult than normal addictions, for a person to come out of it. So a person now spends a lot of time in it, they have an urge to engage more in it, they use it as an escape to forget about their personal problems. So a person got a problem, he escapes to different sites, different chats, etc. And it creates a restlessness in the heart. So eventually it starts impacting on a person's study, on the deen, on the dunya, on the job, normal responsibilities. A person now starts to hide, find places, times where they can engage in this here, and yeah, it becomes part of a person's life, but more than part of their life. So we need to go offline, not just off the grid, but offline with these platforms. A digital detox is needed. So person needs to check themselves all the time. So look at just some statistics and data that 71% are more likely to exhibit suicide with regards to youngsters who are connected to their devices. So it makes a person suicidal, and around half of parents believe that their kids have a smartphone addiction. And the teachers said 60% of their students has had a negative impact. It has distracted the kids as well. So focus again. And generally from youth, adolescence, a child every moment is addicted to that. So an adult spends around 45 minutes a day on social media alone. These are adults, but if we look at teens, then most of the time they cannot survive without a gadget in their hand. So 66% of populations have this nomophobia, and an average person spends around 3 hours of the day on the cell phone. That's an average person who's average goes 6, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. And an average person taps or swipes his phone around 2,600 times. And a person who doesn't have their phone feels uneasy. 26% of accidents are caused because of using the cell phone. So 87% of smartphone users check their device within an hour of going to sleep or waking up. So the last thing you do when sleeping, cell phone. The first thing you do when you wake up, cell phone. So it's a cell, it's a prison. It has imprisoned the ummah, is imprisoned humanity. And around 70% on the first 5 minutes they wake up use their cell phone. So the data is in front of us, and we need to take lesson. So around almost 4 billion people on social media, people spending 3 to 7 hours daily, just tweets, 500 million tweets daily. It's around 6,000 per second. 2 billion people log into YouTube every month, and around 1 billion hours of content is consumed every day on YouTube. So this technology wave, this wave of Dajjal is overwhelming the ummah. And if you look at it, it's a big house of deception. They say Twitter makes you think you are wise, Facebook makes you think you have friends, Instagram makes you think you're an expert photographer, YouTube makes you think you're a presenter. The wake up will be tough. Somebody bought a cake, he went on Facebook, he said I like eating cake. He went on Twitter, I am eating cake. He went on YouTube, this is how you make a cake. He went on LinkedIn, this is my skills of making a cake. Instagram, this is a picture of my cake. Pinterest, this is a recipe of my cake. Foursquare, this is where I'm eating the cake. And on Tinder, this is where you can find me. Expect a cake. So one thing, but how far away from the reality and the haqiqat. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this tawfiq to understand that our life is short. We have been sent with an objective and a purpose, and that is to make Allah and His Rasul happy. The amal for today is that engage in deen, the knowledge of deen, learning deen, etc. This is very important. It's not just in maktab and deen finish, assalamu alaikum, but our entire life we should be engaged in the knowledge of deen. وَالزَّيْنُ عِنْدَ الْأَخِلَّةِ, it's an adornment in the presence of friends, knowledge. يَرْفَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَقْوَامًا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises the ranks of nations because of this ilm. فَيَجْعَلُهُمْ فِي الْخَيْرِ قَادَةً, and Allah will make them the guides for goodness. Allah will make them leaders for goodness. وَإِمَّةً تُقْتَسُّ آثَارُهُمْ, and they will become guides where their footsteps will be followed. وَيُقْتَدَى بِفِعَالِهِمْ, and their actions will be emulated. وَيُنْتَهَى إِلَى رَأْيِهِمْ, and their opinions will be adapted. Thus is through the barakat of ilm. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq, understanding and making amal. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil